Because a country without direction is a country where people are lost and they feel lost and they get desperate. So that's what leadership is all about, and I would, just.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, a program that explores politics, economic issues, as well as social concerns. Go to our website at www.nabntv.com and leave your comments. My guests, as we continue our broadcast, is Dr. Nelson Aluya. Welcome to the studios.
Thank you.
Dr. Yetunde Odubesan Omede. Welcome to the studios.
Thank you.
And Pastor Yemi Adedeji. Welcome to the studios as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're continuing to talk about the Vice President's recent visit to New York to speak with Nigerians. And I'm interested in learning more about your impression during his visits. I know Dr. Omede, I recall that you were present during the town hall meeting, and you had an opportunity to speak to the Vice President, to ask him a question specifically, actually. What's your impression about his response to your question?
I think he gave a well-rounded response. I think he spent more than over 3 to 4 hours answering a total of over 40 questions for most of the guests that were there. And I thought that was a great time to spend with people and to actually hear his input on the current situation of things in Nigeria.
Okay. Refresh our memories, actually, if you can, regarding the specific questions you posed to the Vice President.
So the specific question that I posed was, how can we harness the diaspora in building up human capital in Nigeria? And so he basically went in and talked about the Diaspora committee that has been formed, the commission that has been formed in Nigeria, and how that's going to be chaired by Honorable Abike Dabri, who will be chairing that and also will be leading the diasporans in figuring out how we can, lend our talents and our gifts and our expertise and knowledge in building human capital in Nigeria, and also addressing many of the concerns that we have and the role that we play in mitigating many of these issues that we have been discussing about the current status of affairs in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Dr. Aluya, because I'm very observant, I'm patting myself on the back, I recall that you were there as well, and then you played some role during the town hall meeting. What is your impression regarding the Vice President's response to questions? I know it's over 40 questions, like you rightly mentioned. What's your impression in general?
But I did watch essentially almost everything that happened with his visit and all the questions and his responses. First, I must say it was a bold step on his part, and I would commend the government for coming to take time to address people in diaspora in the U.S. Barring and understanding the fact that things are really very imprecarious times in Nigeria, he was bold enough to come face Nigerians who are among the smartest and most eloquent people on earth right now, and we have a lot of them in the U.S., to face those questions and take those questions. I must say I commend him for coming. However, a lot of people were not satisfied with some of the, his comments and the way he answered some of the questions, and somewhat in a lackadaisical, playful manner, responding to, some of the questions. So one in particular was the gentleman who said he built his mansion home and he want to go home, but that he can't because his local chief told him not to come back home. And at the end, he jokingly said, I know it's a joke, where he said, he didn't want to pay ransom. But I'll tell you this, for any one person out of 200 million people in Nigeria, if one person is kidnapped, that is one too many. And that affects all of Nigeria and gives us a really bad name, globally. And for those who've been involved in that kidnapping, it's a terrible, harrowing experience. We went through as a group from ABU medical school, where one of us was recently kidnapped. It was in the news, I think, last week. And he was held, Dr. Bashir. I can imagine how, torturing it was for the family, where him, his younger brother and 2 sisters were kidnapped because they were going home to celebrate their mother's burial. And, we got that news and everybody had to come around together to put money together to see how we can support. And it was released eventually after ransom being paid. So I'm sure, him and his family would not find it funny. None of us find it funny. And I think in as much as things that need to be addressed in precise manner, and concrete steps need to be taken into mitigating issues that begin to plague us as a people and giving us a bad name globally.
Okay, Dr. Adedeji, did you have an opportunity to observe the interview?
No, not really.
Oh, it's a good presentation.
Yes, but I have heard a lot about it.
Okay.
Yeah. And my take on it is everything boils down to the economy. The economy of the nation is what's provoking a lot of things that's going on. Whether it's kidnapping or killings, I think it's because people are frustrated and desperate and are looking for a way out. It's not the right way, obviously, but I think that's really the root cause. And apart from the religious issue, because religion is one, I think economy is the other big thing. And I liken it to what's happening in Mexico, but it has declined. But in the 70s, 80s, 90s, if we know, Mexico also was very big on kidnapping, especially foreigners, people from the diaspora. Anyone that has a good that they can feed on. So it was big business. A lot of times, those that were kidnapped were not actually released, even after the money is collected. So it's unfortunate if we're going to look at that aspect. But I think economy is really the key issue that is leading into these things.
It's interesting you mentioned religion. What's your observation about the role of religion in this whole craziness that's going on?
Okay, well, religion is actually universal, and I don't know why some countries make it a big deal. The purpose of religion, in my view, we do not have the right to control what someone else wants to do based upon his religious belief. I don't think we have that right. I think we should leave every man to themselves to seek their higher power, to serve their higher power in the ways they want. Now, that being said, look at all the continents of the world. There's religion all over the place. In Asia, Buddhism, Hinduism, they're the big things. And maybe a little bit of Islam and probably a little bit of Christianity. But those are the big religious movement there. Middle East, Africa, Islam, Christianity. And then in the West, we have predominantly Christianity. So you can't say that religion should be an issue because every continent of the world has key religious figures that they're serving. Now, I think the problem we have in Africa, not just Nigeria, but in Africa, is more a moral thing, a type of I think religion is being used as a tool to enslave others, to bring others underneath. Now, Africa as a whole, if you look at it, 5 divisions. So you have the North, the South, the East, the West, and the Central. North Africa, predominantly, they call it like white Africa because that's where you have all the main Caucasian. They're mainly Muslims. You don't have religious tussle in countries where there's probably a single religion in the world. But where you have different religions, different ethnicities, the ethnic groups will now use religion to try and either subdue the others or to show supremacy over the others. And I think that's one of the key things that we need to solve.
Dr. Maida, you seem to agree with
but we have even seen historically that religion has been used as a justification to wield war. It's always usually a justification to obtain power. So even in places that are homogeneous, where there is probably one central religion, we have seen that there's a push to either extend what we call Sharia law, or either use their religious values or beliefs to extend that to the rest of the country. That's where a lot of some of the infighting and issues that we're having in Nigeria actually lies. And so when we have that, and that's for many different parts of the world. Here in the United States, we also experience that too, right? Although we have the separation of church and state, but you can still see that push of the Christianity of belt and the laws that are passing to ensure that Bibles are in schools and so forth. So again, regardless of it, usually we see there's that one religion that tries to gain that supremacy. And unfortunately, when people use politics and they couple that with religion, it can be a combustible thing.
That's right.
So, and in terms of any religious doctrine, it can be misinterpreted to do great things, or it could be, I mean, interpreted to do great things, and it can be misinterpreted to do some of the most evil things that we have seen in this world to do. So unfortunately, I hope Nigeria gets to a point where religion is no longer used as a justification to wield any form of violence, right? Where we're now looking at terrorist groups and we're saying, okay, they are from a religious standpoint, and this is what they want to do. So, and all over the world, we're seeing that. So, and we, that's sort of like religious radicalization, So, hopefully, we kind of move from that and are able to find a unifying area where we can all live in a common peace and sort of serve for that goal.
Dr. Oluya, your take?
Well, I'll bring a funny twist to this, in the sense that often enough, you look globally, the different gods, Allah, all that. But funny enough, there's only one Satan. Such an ironic thing, right? We serve different gods, but then one Satan at the end of it all. So I mean, it begs for us to come to terms and realize what exactly is going on. It has now become a tool of dominance, a tool of control, and that has always been all through human history. And it's settled on the premise of the fact that when people get desperate, and there's an absence of leadership, absence of direction, absence of sparsity of resources, people tend to go tribal. When I use tribal, not in the terms of the language, but terms of allegiances or persuasions into places of comfort. So when there's deviance in the direction of which things should go, or the way it ought to be, people tend to navigate towards areas of comfort. And tribe, in terms of religion, is one. And people do this as a means of control. So for those who do not know and can't understand, then they perpetrate or gravitate towards a religion that they feel will give them most comfort. And that is what's happening in Nigeria, where if you talk about Christianity, we see what's happening in different churches, where the guys at the top of the ham are living such luxurious lives, and those at the bottom who are forced to pay their tithes on a monthly basis and pay, come to church and do all the things, are living abject poverty. They can't even afford to send their children to the same schools where those, big people are building their schools. So it's a big issue, and it's, at the end of it all, I must say this: we must learn to separate church or religion from the state, period.
But I also think that there's a push from pockets of people who are trying to turn Nigeria into a theocracy, which is a government ruled by religion. So we see that in Saudi Arabia, we see that in other parts of the world, but we know that Nigeria is not a theocracy. So what do we do when we have pockets of people who do believe that Sharia law should be pushed, and those who also believe that Christianity should also reign supreme? So again, I think we're in that conflicting space.
Yeah, excuse me, I would like to say that there's no way till the end of time where people will not think differently, act differently, pursue different means of fulfillment or satisfaction, especially when it comes to religion. No matter what force is used, no matter what type of persuasion, history tells us this. History tells us this, that no matter what, there's some people that are so strong-willed that they will do or go the direction that they're going to go, even if their life depended on it. And many have given up their lives for what they believe. So that, I think, is what should be known, that there's no way you're going to convert 100% of the people. I think the education should be neutral. It should be, if we want to speak about Nigeria now, fine, is good. So any country, there should be freedom of religion. I think the Constitution actually, not most countries, I take that back, some countries have it in their Constitution that every man has the right to have freedom of religion. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a place in the Nigerian Constitution, I can't quote it, but I think so, even though then they say it contradicts itself, it goes back.
One question. If you had an opportunity to advise the president, the vice president, or Nigeria's leadership, what would be one thing that you'd like to put out there? Any of you?
If I may just go
Yes.
very quickly, I would like there to be a system whereby there is impartial treatment of, or impartial delivery of justice. There's something I've observed, and I don't want to make it seem religious again, but I observed that a lot of times when the culprits are caught, people who kidnap, people who kill, whether they're these Fulani herdsmen, as they say, you don't hear anything about what happens to them after, oh, we caught 18, we caught 11. There's not killing. But if there was a time that they caught one of the Fulani herdsmen, and I think they injured the guy, probably even killed him. These guys were in prison. They actually showed them in prison and they talked about it. But how many of these other culprits that have been caught have been released unannounced, or have one way or the other escaped, so to say? So I feel that there is injustice in the nation regarding the delivery of justice or punishment or commendation and what have you. So if the government could be fair across the board, I think it would make the nation a better place.
I think one of the things that the government lacks, and I think that they can work on, is actually having clear, concise, straightforward, and empathetic responses to the needs of the people. I believe that there's a communication gap. I believe when our Vice President, His Excellency, did come over to speak with us, I think that was a great part on his, but at the end of the day, there are millions of people in Nigeria who also need their presence to be seen, and possibly on a television camera. And so here we have State of the Unions, but I think in Nigeria, I think what we need is a visible leadership, and the visible leadership comes with communication. So I think it is important that President Buhari, His Excellency, you actually stand in front of the TV and actually talk and address many of the security concerns and the security issues that are happening within the nation. I think it's important that he address what's happening with the Fulani herdsmen. I think it's important that he address what's happening with unemployment. So it's important to hear from a leader of a nation. And when you don't hear from a leader of a nation, when there is silence, people make all types of assumptions. People feel as though maybe they're not empathetic, or maybe their priorities are not with the Nigerian people. So I think it's extremely, extremely important that they work on their messaging and they work on their communication, and that they show the leadership, the visible leadership that's extremely necessary and that Nigeria needs at this moment.
Thank you very much.
Well, in summary, I would say this, that leadership entails seeking out your responsibilities and taking ownership of them. And that's what, in short, leadership entails. And for anybody who's going to rule Nigeria, or those who are presently ruling Nigeria, in reference to the present president, I would say surround yourself with people who have the vision, the passion, and the direction to which you assume you want to take the country to. Because a country without direction is a country where people are lost, and they feel lost, and they get desperate. So that's what leadership is all about, and I would, just leave it there. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank our guests. I think I've had the best, guests, so far, on this program. I thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure, having this conversation with you. This is not the end of it. We'll bring you in as time permits, to talk about issues relating to our community. And thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.